Senator Cassidy.
Hey, thank you all. Tremendous testimony. Although a topic which is in a sense inherently tragic, on the other hand, the fact that Senators Alexander and Murray and y'all are here gives us some room for happiness, of optimism in the midst of this. So thank you all. Dr. Eaton, let me ask. You describe in your testimony, written and spoken, about the lack of coordination between federal programs. I'm drawing from that you feel as if there needs to be some change in how these programs coordinate, or else we'll be spending federal tax dollars in an ineffective way, et cetera. Your thoughts on that?
Well, so in the written testimony, and this is the part of it that I know, so I do epidemiologic research, there is huge redundancy in the epidemiologic research related to mental disorders. The NIAAA conducts its own survey, the NIDA conducts a survey, the SAMHSA conducts a survey, NIMH, they're all very similar.
So
I use them all. I mean,
now, I don't mean to cut off, it's just I have limited time. So in a sense, it would be better to have one person saying, you shall do this and you shall do that, as opposed to everybody deciding on their own, this is where we need to go?
I think it would pay to study the coordination of those agencies. That's what, but it's a very difficult
Now,
thing
let
to
me
figure
also
out.
ask, you brought up something that Representative Tim Murphy brings up on the House consistently, in the House of Representatives side, that the SAMHSA really has a paucity of psychiatrists.
Didn't have any when I was there.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that the principal agency for addressing psychiatric illness didn't have a psychiatrist. Or maybe it's not amazing. But
It is amazing.
it is amazing, I agree. The epidemiology, by the way, I told Dr. Hepburn when I saw your testimony regarding we need to start basing federal research on some objective criteria as opposed to inertia, using Dalley's as one example.
Yeah.
It was like, be still my heart. Right now, I think you're talking about the societal cost, but do you include the cost of incarceration in your societal cost?
Those dailies do not include that cost typically, and that's something that I didn't get into in my testimony, but really, incarceration, this is a horrible, horrible problem. I think we now many of us think of that the prison and jail system is the de facto mental health system
My
in the
National
United
Sheriff's
States.
Association president, who's from Louisiana, at least past president, Greg Champagne, says he is the greatest, he is the most active mental health provider in his parish.
Yeah, that's in Cook County. That's true also, and you know, we don't even have a good survey
So let me
of mental
stop.
disorders in prison.
So let me stop. We've heard testimony, Dr. Hepburn, that the right drug is so necessary in order to keep somebody in balance. I've learned, though, that when someone enters a jail, their medicines may be stopped or may be on contract. It will be a drug substituted, et cetera. So if we don't have some way to divert folks who are mentally ill out of the jail, it may be they're going into a setting which would make a dadgum ER look calm, super chaotic, but either no medicine or a different medicine because it is is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's one of the big concerns about not having a sequential intercept model that helps to keep people out of being arrested and out of jail. As the point that you made, if somebody comes in on medication and that medication isn't continued, then it can have a negative impact on their ability to recover.
Thank you. Mr. Rahim, again, great testimony. Tell me, though, the fact that you're speaking about peer groups as if it is something unique, maybe you're just bragging on the one in which you're involved, but I also got a sense from your testimony that the model needs to be expanded, that as good as it is, we actually don't have peer groups proliferating across the country. This happens to be an exception of which you wish to speak. Is that fair?
Well, I know that there are peer groups in the country, and I think knowing the power that somebody...
Now, there are peer groups. Are they all over the place, or no, there are peer groups?
I couldn't speak to that they're all over the place, but I know there are peer groups. Certain organizations like Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, they are based on peers and wellness. NAMI does also have peer groups across the country, but I do think that is a key component. If I knew that when I was going through the thick of my medication...
Let me stop you, man,
Yeah.
because I'm out of time. So in a sense, anything that would promulgate or increase the use of peer groups would probably be a good thing.
100%.
100%. Next, last question. Man, if we could put you in a bottle and sell you, the whole world would be better off. But oftentimes those who are mentally ill will not take their medicine. And the revolving door comes, they feel well, they stop taking their medicine, they're back with Miss Blake. Now, what motivated you to take your medicine, and what do you recommend for those who do not take their medicine? What would you recommend to kind of encourage them to stay on that path of recovery?
Medication does not define who you are. You are defined by your experience and not your mental illness. Mental illness is also, defining mental illness is also how you think about yourself and the things that how you're labeled.
So the appropriate mindset, number one. What else?
Number one is appropriate mindset, and number two is in finding the right medication, knowing that you'll have to go through a combination. There is no one medication that is a panacea for mental illness, and that's why more research is needed. So know that you have a different combinations. Know that you're not defined by your medication or your mental illness, and having the ability to self-report to your doctor. Know how the medications are affecting you. Know how they're impacting your treatment, as well as your body. And know that you'll have weight gain. You'll have some sort of response and reaction. So I think those are key components. One, trial and error. There's going to be different combinations. Two, know that it'll have an impact on your body. Three, self-report. And four, know that they do not define who you are. Mental illness does not define who you are.
Thank you. I yield back. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Dr. Cassidy. Senator Warren.